And even as parents collectively rage across the country like burning flames rising with dense and imposing smoke, the local government in Loudoun County stares directly into the face of the parents, doubles down, and attacks Scott Smith. The story continues as we find out about the second incident from John Nolte, Breitbart News. Loudoun County Public Schools released a statement Wednesday defending the cover-up of an alleged rape while attacking the victim's father. Here's a quick rundown of what happened in Loudoun County, Virginia, for those just joining us. On May 28th, the 15-year-old daughter of a father in question, Scott Smith, says she was brutally raped and sodomized in a Stonebridge High School girls' bathroom by a boy who gained entry by wearing a skirt and identifying as gender fluid. All right. According to the Daily Wire, who first reported the story, this boy was criminally charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy, 1 count of anal sodomy, and 1 count of forcible fellatio. The suspect was not arrested until late July or early August, as Breitbart News had reported. Apparently, after the incident, the school system simply transferred him. They transferred this kid to another school because on October 6th, this same boy was charged with forcing a girl into an empty classroom and touching her inappropriately at Broad Run High School in Ashburn, Virginia. However, just a few weeks after the May 28th rape allegation, the Loudoun County School Board held a meeting to advance a policy that would allow biological males to use the girls' bathrooms and locker rooms. You know, folks, it really doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out that the school board didn't want to upset their financiers by failing to pass their dangerous, paid-for, woke agenda. They literally thought it would be better to bury the rape, transfer the trans, and wash their hands of it than report the truth to the public. It's absolutely despicable. It's absolutely despicable, and it shows just how far gone these people are. Back to the article. At this June 22nd meeting, LCPS Superintendent Scott Ziegler flat out lied to those assembled when he said, quote, "The predator transgender student or person simply does not exist." Poof. We don't have any record of assaults occurring at our restrooms. And this is when the alleged victim's father, Scott Smith, decided to speak. But instead of hearing him out, the school board silenced him by having him tackled and arrested by police officers. If that's not outrageous enough, in an effort to have parents opposed to critical race theory and this transgender madness treated as domestic terrorists by the federal government, Smith's arrest was cited by the National School Board Association in a letter demanding federal law enforcement protection. Did you catch that, Mom and Dad? This is the exact case that Joe Biden's Department of Justice is trying to use to label parents as terrorists, literally. If your child is raped by a trans student, a gender fluid student, an LGBTQ LMNOP student, and you open your mouth and you speak up, you could be labeled a domestic terrorist and your life could be destroyed. No accountability and no consequences for anything. These folks lie, they cheat, they steal, and then they gaslight all of us. They gaslight all of us like psychotic, overbearing, enabling mothers. When will you realize these people just don't have different ideas, all right? They literally have different core values than us. All right. They have different core values and they wholeheartedly believe that they're righteous in their cause and in their actions. So I have to ask, why should we care about what they think or say anymore? Huh? Tell me, Mom and Dad, why should we care? Why did we ever care? Look, the county not only covers up for the crime, all right? It not only tries to cover up the crime, but it literally, sickeningly, tries to justify its own cover-up. Just listen to this. Once a matter has been reported to law enforcement, LCPS does not begin its investigation until law enforcement advises LCPS that it has completed the criminal investigation. To maintain the integrity of the criminal investigation, law enforcement requested that LCPS not interview students until their investigation was concluded. LCPS has cooperated and continues to cooperate with law enforcement. It's the cops' fault, guys. It's not our fault. The cops did it. Furthermore, LCPS is prohibited from disciplining any students without following the Title IX grievance process, which includes investigating complaints of sexual harassment and sexual assault. LCPS does impose interim measures to protect the safety of students involved in the original incident, deter retaliation, and preserve the integrity of the investigation and resolution process. BS. School board members are typically not given details of disciplinary matters. Excuse me? What? The board may be obligated to consider long-term suspensions or expulsions and must ensure that students have not been deprived of due process. Oh, poor transgender rapist. We can't deprive him of his due process. Consequently, members of the Loudoun County School Board were not aware of the specific details of this incident until it was reported in media outlets earlier this week. We're unable to locate any records that indicate that Scott Smith had registered in advance to speak at the June 22nd, 2021 school board meeting. The entire statement from the county, this entire statement is a twisting of the truth, or as we honorable people like to call it, a flat out lie. Remember, the school said to Scott not to go to the police because they'd handle it. Remember? They'd handle it. By not reporting it to the police, the school bought itself some time. When the dad found out nothing was happening, he filed the subsequent reports, maybe, and then got arrested for making it public at the school board meeting back in June. Since the cops were investigating it at that point, the school could not be blamed. Instead, it could then blame the investigation for their inaction. All right? It could literally blame the investigation itself for the reason they didn't do anything. And then just transfer the kid to another school. Again, there's no records because the school told dad they'd handle it, which means that there's no paper trail because they didn't handle it. See? A truthful lie right up the left's alley. And they would have gotten away with it too. They really would have. They would have gotten away with it too if they didn't try to cover for the superintendent. If they didn't try to take care of their own people. The superintendent apologized for lying. All right? He came out and apologized. All right? For not telling the truth. And when he did that, with this having come out as well from the county, he accidentally exposed them all.